Where the people go?
So we are here at the Explosives Magazine. So this is where the miners kept their dynamite down here. But they kept enough dynamite for only 24 hours in the magazine. And so the rest of their dynamite was actually stored on the outside of the portals. So there are a few things we can notice about our magazine here. So a tricky question for you guys. What does the color red mean to you? There you go, yeah. So as soon as the miners saw that this magazine was red, they instantly knew that they were in a dangerous environment. But our magazine is also made out of wood. And it's been made out of wood because wood does not spark. There is also an electrical light on the inside of our magazine here. So what this light does is that if our door has been kept closed, it can actually generate enough heat that it is able to keep our dynamite dry and stable. But as you guys can notice, we have accidentally left this door open. And so what that means is that the moisture from the tunnel and even from sweat could easily set our dynamite off. So we had to be careful to keep this door closed at all times. We are the pretty lucky miners today. That's because the dynamite that I'm holding in my hand and our dynamite in the magazine here is actually fake dynamite. So there will be no explosions today. No, they're still safe. But I will be showing you what our dynamite was used for. So we are going to move on to the drilling chamber next. This is what the miners would get after they had inserted their dynamite and it exploded. So they actually called this pile of rock here the muck. And the men who removed this muck were simply called the muckers. So there were actually two muckers who would have to work side by side together to remove this muck. And for the first 20 years of this mine's life, our muckers used what was called a mucking stick to remove that muck. So I'll show you guys what it looks like. It's pretty fancy. I'm not sure if any of you have seen this before.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it looks a little familiar now. So the shovel was actually what was used down here to remove this muck. So the muckers actually had to stick it right into the muck, lift it and haul it over their backs into containers that would have been right behind them in here. So each mucker had to work for 8 hours, just like our miners did. And each mucker was actually required to lift between 16 and 20 tons of muck a day. So that is an incredible amount of muck. It is definitely backbreaking work.
I think I'd be demanding a bigger mucker.
Yeah, exactly. And that is exactly what they did. They came out with a bigger piece of equipment that would do the work for them. So in 1921, they actually came out with this machine we have here on my left. So can you guys actually tell me what this is called? We'll give you a bit of a hint. So we have our muck and we have the muckers.
Super scooper.
Very close, that's a pretty good guess. Anyone else want to guess? Maybe. Yeah, what about the mucky machine? Yeah, there you go. So a pretty clever name. And it's actually designed after the way the muckers work. So it does scoop the muck up the way the muckers do, lifts it and throws it over its back into the container we have behind it. So it made work very quick for the muckers down here, because in just 1 hour, our mucking machine here was actually able to lift 16 tons. So it did all the work that this shovel did. So I'll actually now show you guys what our mucking machine, how it operates. So it is loud, but not as loud as a drill, so you guys don't have too much to worry about with this one. So here you go. Alright, so you guys have seen some pretty important jobs that the miners down here have had. So you have seen all the drills that they've used here. And you've now seen what their muck looks like and how the muckers remove the muck. But there is one job down here, and it's actually the most important job in this mine. In fact, the men down here could not live without this piece of equipment. So it is right next to our mucking machine over here. So you guys actually want to gather with me, or over here, and gather really close around it. Take a very good look at it. Alright, so there are a large amount of you guys today, so we can try to squeeze in a little bit. And if anyone wants to come up to the barrier, you can also come a little closer too. So if you can maybe move down just a little bit further, that would be great. So there's lots of room over here too, guys. If you want to see this better, you can feel free to squeeze on in here. Get to know each other very well. Alright, so welcome to the drilling chamber. All our drills that were used here at Britannia Mine were air powered. So they all ran off of compressed air. So the air actually travels through this pipe we have down here, and they power drills such as this one here on my left. So this drill is called the wood drill. And it was the very first drill that the miners here at Britannia Mine used. So it was fairly effective, but it also had a few negative impacts on the miners' health down here as well. So number one, the wood drill is extremely heavy. It actually weighs about 400 pounds. So it took 3 men to move and to operate this drill. And the wood drill is also unbelievably loud. So the miners were underground for about 8 hours, 6 days a week, listening to the wood drill without any hearing protection. And so the men down here would have lost their hearing, and many of them did go deaf. And lastly, the wood drill is also what is known as a dry drill. And so when it hits the rock here, its impact was actually so great that it created a lot of dust in the air. And in that dust are tiny sharp particles called silica. And it's a lot like breathing in glass. So as you inhale, it actually cuts your lungs up. So the men were diagnosed with a disease called silicosis. And if they were diagnosed with silicosis, they're actually given up to only 2 years to live. And so this wood drill got the nickname the Widowmaker, because so many men died for using it. So do you guys know what is next? Gonna actually operate the wood drill for you guys. So I know you're all pretty excited to hear how loud it really is. So when I count to 3, you guys just have to plug your ears. And it won't kill you if you don't, but it is going to be pretty loud, so you guys might want to just do that anyway. It'll only go on for a couple seconds, so it won't be very long. Alright, you guys want to plug your ears? On the count of 3, here you go. 1, 2, 3. So how do you guys feel about using this wood drill without any hearing protection? Wouldn't be too fun, would it? But things did start to look a little better for the miners down here. So in the 1920s, they actually came out with a second drill, and that is what we have here in the middle. So this drill is called the Stoper drill. And it is now a lot lighter than the wood drill. It only weighs about 100 pounds, so it took one man to move and to operate this drill. And the Stoper is also what is known as a vertical drill. And so it only allowed the men to drill up into the roof of the tunnel. It also eliminated all of that dust that the men were breathing in down here, because our Stoper is now what is known as a wet drill. So the water actually traveled up this pipe we have down here, through the drill and into the hole that the men are drilling. So instead of getting silicosis, the only thing they had to worry about now was getting a very good mud shower down here. So they did get pretty dirty from using the Stoper drill. But it also had one disadvantage, and I did mention that it was a vertical drill, so it only allowed the miners to drill up into the roof of the tunnel. And so they did need something that would allow them to drill into the rock here, because there were plenty of minerals down here as well. So in 1930, they actually came out with a third drill, and that drill is actually down at the end here. So you guys can shift on over a little bit, and we'll take a better look at this one. All right, so this drill that we have here is called the jack drill. And it's now what's known as a horizontal drill. So it did allow the men to drill into the rock here and access the minerals they have here as well. It also eliminated all that dust because the jackleg is also a wet drill. So like the Stoper over there, the water travels up this pipe here, through the drill and into the hole that the men are drilling. So I will operate the jackleg for you guys, and again, it's going to be loud, so do plug your ears on the count of 3. Alright, so on the count of 3, here we go. 1, 2, 3. So all these drills do take a lot of physical strength, and so the miners down here are actually working very hard. And in the mine's peak, which was 1928, the miners down here are actually making only $2.75 an hour. Actually, I shouldn't say only, because that was actually very good money back then. In fact, if you wanted to rent a house here, it costed you $1 a month. So they did have a lot of men that were willing to come underground and risk their lives for that money. So they were also drilling their holes for a very special purpose, and that is because of the dynamite that I showed you while we were on the train. So the miners actually came underground, and they would have to look for what is called the miner's bullseye. And the miner's bullseye is this yellow box that you guys see right around me right here. So once the men found the miner's bullseye, they actually drilled up to 30 holes on the inside. So once they had their holes, they would then insert their dynamite, leave the tunnel, and it would then explode. And it did create a very large pile of rock on the ground, and that pile of rock is actually what contained the minerals, and it would then go to the mill to get processed. So before we go and show you guys what the pile of rock looks like, do you guys have any questions about the drills or the mine in general so far?
What are those little colored pegs that is that?
That just shows them where to drill their holes. So, yeah, so that's just to demonstrate where the miners had to drill their holes. All right, so we'll just wait till the train leaves, and then you guys can follow me and we'll check out what that pile of rock looks like. And if anyone wants to come down to the lower level, up to the barrier, you can always come closer as well. So if you guys want to, you can always come here.